Good morning, councillors. I would like to obviously begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are gathered and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So welcome to the ordinary council meeting of the 23rd of February 2022. I declare this meeting open at 10 a.m. and would like to advise meeting attendees this meeting is being webcasted and audio recorded. Can the gallery please be upstanding if you're able to, and join me in a moment of contemplation. Because it has the ability to unite and connect a community. I've seen this on a small scale at many of our local sporting clubs. Some of my favourite memories in life have been raising a young family and of course watching them participate. At events such as Logan Basketball at Canubia Park, the pool at Springwood, and of course Low Oval at Springwood. The power of sport is to bring people together, can be seen on no larger scale than the Olympics and Paralympic Games, the biggest sporting event in the world. The goal of the Olympic movement, according to the International Olympic Committee, is to contribute to building a peaceful and better world by educating youth through sport practiced without discrimination and in the Olympic spirit, which requires mutual understanding with a spirit of friendship, solidarity and fair play. This is what the Games are all about for me and why I'm excited for 2032. None have said better than Thomas Bach, the president of the IOC, who wrote, "The Olympics and Paralympic Games cannot prevent wars and conflict, nor can they address all the political and social challenges in our world. But they can set an example for a world where everyone respects the same rules and one another. They can inspire us to solve problems in friendship and solidarity. They can build bridges leading to better understanding among people. In this way, they can open the door to peace. Never has there been more important time in recent history to do this all, to create world peace and global unity." Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to pass on my sincere condolences to the families and loved ones of the 15 residents who recently passed away due to COVID illnesses at the Jeddah Gardens Aged Care Home in Bethania. I am both concerned and saddened that this has happened in Bethania, an area of Division 6 that is home to many who are most at risk to COVID. I can only ask and remind people to avoid visiting aged homes and respite centres if you have any COVID-related symptoms, and I'd like to pass on my apologies to the loved ones of the people who've lost family members. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Hiermo? Yes, Councillor Wilcox.
Sorry. I would like to pass my condolences on to the Henderson family on the passing of Jason Henderson. Jason passed away suddenly last Monday. Apologies because I knew Jason. He was a beloved father, son and husband and member of the Greenbank Gators swimming family. Jason had started Henderson Property Maintenance and had built up a steady business, and Jason was passionate about his work and loved being able to make everyone's gardens and lawns look fantastic. He also loved swimming. He loved that his kids were now swimming and part of the club. He loved jumping in and racing against them, and so did I when I was racing against him because he was a gentle giant. So thank you. You will be missed by many, and my thoughts are with you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Okay, that's finished there. We'll now have a moment of reflection in honour of those who have gone and those have gone those that have been left behind. So if you'll able to stand, please. Hopefully we'll be able to brighten it up a little bit. Okay, I now open the floor for congratulation requests. Do any councillors have a congratulations they'd like to? Go ahead, Councillor Lane.
Good morning, Mr Mayor, and thank you so much for the opportunity to offer congratulations. There's a young man in Underwood by the name of Daniel Savanoff who recently was on the Channel 9 Today program with Carl Stefanovic and Ali, and his thing was about lawn care and how to keep your lawn tidy. And one of the things that he did was he encouraged other kids to actually get active for their parents to keep their yards clean and tidy. Now, in a community like ours where grass is growing long because of the rain and what have you, Daniel's humour and kindness and generosity and just great spirit actually shone out for a local community. So I'd love to pass my congratulations along to Daniel Savanoff from Underwood. And the second one is the Logan City Special School celebrates 50 years in operation this year. And the school came to me asking me for historical photos, and I said, I'm far too young for that, I can't provide those. So what I did was I actually got in touch with Hilda McLean from the library. Hilda's a historian with the library, and she's amazing. Within 24 hours, she'd turned around half a dozen photos for the school. So congratulations to Logan City Special School, but most importantly, thanks to Hilda McLean.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Russell? No. Councillor Raven? Councillor Hall? No. Councillor Hiramo? No. Councillor Wilcox?
Thank you. I'll try and brighten this one up a bit. I'd like my congratulations passed on to a young man whom I met a couple of years ago. His name is Elijah Barwick. He's a Flagstone student, and he has recently competed in the Australian National Futsal Championships. Not only has he gone and competed in that and represented Queensland, he's actually now going to represent Australia and has been selected in the under-13 Australian boys team, which is due to travel to the US in July. So I would like to wish Elijah all the very best. Good luck. Hope you do well. Hope you succeed in your futsal. He is a mad keen futsal player, so best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Murphy? No. Okay. Thank you, councillors. Finish that. Now I refer to the minutes of the previous ordinary council meeting. I move that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 28th of January 2022 be confirmed. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Lane has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the matter has been carried. We have no business arising from the minutes to consider, so we'll go straight into committee meetings and recommendations. I now refer to the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 15th of February 2022. Councillor Raven, Chairperson of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before we move into discussions, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest they'd like to declare? There being none, I will speak to the report. Mr. Mayor, you'll recall it was a very full-on and intense committee meeting with a great deal of debate, and I want to thank my colleagues for that. Unfortunately, much of that debate revolved around budget, revolved around legal matters and around grants that would be potentially coming from the state and federal government. So we can't talk about the fantastic work we did just yet, but we will be soon. I did just want to point out to one item though, item 4.3, which is about reducing the infrastructure charges for tourist parks and nature-based tourism. This is a great idea, and I encourage my fellow colleagues to support it because we know that the environment in Logan is fantastic, definitely better than what they're offering in Brisbane, and who needs beaches of the Gold Coast when you've got the beautiful mountains of Cornubia Forest and Spring Mountain, and we'd love to see more people coming and enjoying that in Logan, and we're trying to incentivise people to do that. With that though, Mr. Mayor, there's nothing else I can speak about, so I'll hand over to my colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Do any other councillors wish to speak? No, I hand it back to you, Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I now move that the minutes of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 15th of February be confirmed, and that the recommendations of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 15th of February be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Russell has seconded the motion. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That hasn't been carried unanimously. Councillor Bradley, I will be asking at the end of each committee whether they want to put the voice there against any. Do you want to put your name against? You want to vote? All right. I'll carry the vote again. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you. The motion has been carried. Now, did any councillors wish to record their names against any of the? Okay. All right. Well, Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, thank you. 5.1 and 6.1, can I have my name against, please?
Okay, that'll be noted. Councillor Kransky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 6.1, and if I may abstain from that and provide a reason for abstention. Thank you.
If you wish.
I believe the projects are good projects, but I'm unhappy with the process and the way council has made the decision, and I'd like a better process in future. Thank you,
Councillor Kransky. Councillor Stemp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was against 5.1, please.
You abstained.
Against.
Against. And Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. I 5.1 and 6.1 I was against, and 8.1 I abstained.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. To the minute clerk, have we got all those recorded? Thank you. Okay, thank you, councillors. I now refer to the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 15th of February 2022. Councillor Lane, Chairperson of the City Infrastructure Committee, you may proceed.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. The last committee meeting had some pretty robust discussions and went a lot longer than it normally does. So thank you very much, councillors, for your long and often challenging contributions. It was a good day, and those sort of discussions make for better decisions in council. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest to declare on any items? There being none, I'll open the floor for discussion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Do any other councillors wish to discuss any of the matters? Councillor Hiremaier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today I rise to talk about some of the disappointment and the concerns regarding the recent committee discussions on flood mapping. Now that makes sense, because flood mapping affects housing supply, and right now our state is in the midst of a housing affordability crisis. 7 News has reported that it will take the average first home buyer 10 years to save up to pay for a deposit for their first home. And there's concerns with flood mapping discussions because by limiting land supply, many believe that this may be a backward step and it will work against our shared goal of affordable housing. Now, I'd like to reassure our community that the fight is not over. Council's working on a new town plan and we have the opportunity to have our say. to stand up for housing affordability, to stand up for your values, and to stand up to make sure that young people have the same opportunities as generations before them. Mr. Mayor, I want our city to be the city on the hill when it comes to housing affordability. I want our city to be leading from the front, but we have to do this together. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hirmay. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm actually going to hark back to some words that were said to me when I was a young councillor, probably about the same time that I've been elected as Councillor Hirmay has, that his enthusiasm is admirable but misplaced. Because while housing affordability is important, letting people build houses in the floodplain doesn't help anyone. Their house may be affordable, but when it gets washed away, or when all their belongings get covered in mud, or when an SES worker has to risk their life and potentially lose it because this council didn't want to acknowledge where the floodplain should have been and just crossed our fingers and hoped for the best that flood wouldn't come, that's not good enough for our community. They expect us to take care of them and to make sure that people aren't building in the floodplain and expanding that floodplain that then impacts other people who were never in wetland. They were always on dry land. So if we don't know where the floodplain is, if we're not using the best evidence, we're not using the best model to understand exactly where the flooding is and how severe it will be, and then taking practical measures to make sure that we aren't unnecessarily limiting land supply, that we're only doing what's necessary and what's prudent, then I don't think we're serving our community well. So I want to thank my fellow colleagues who supported the flood mapping, flood study and climate change impacts that we're going to see coming. And I want to let the community know that Councillor Hirmay's concerns are valid and that we're all working towards affordable housing. But we want it to be safe housing, secure housing, that won't be washed away when a 1 in 100 year flood comes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We're not in debate, so what I'm going to do is hand back to Councillor Lane. And Councillor Lane, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. That obviously evidenced exactly what I said at the start of my comments, which is there's a lot of opinion in the room, there's a lot of experts in the room, and we make the best decisions that we can as a council for the local residents. I now move that the minutes of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 15th of February 2022 be confirmed, and that the recommendations of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on 15/20/22 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Lane has moved the motion. I've seconded for the motion. Councillor Bradley has seconded the motion. I put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Now I ask councillors if you wish to record your name against any of the matters. Councillor Wilcox.
Could it please be on the record that I was against 4.1 and 4.2, please? I was against 4.1 and 4.2.
4.1, okay.
And 4.2.
And Councillor Hirmay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Against item 4.1 and 4.2.
Okay, that will be noted. And Councillor Hall.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Please let it be known that I abstained from 4.1 and 4.2.
Okay, abstain from 4.1. Okay, have they been recorded? Yep. Okay. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the City Lifestyle Committee. I now refer to the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 16th of February 2022. Councillor Karansky, Chairperson of the City Lifestyle Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I note that declarable conflicts of interest were declared by Councillor Murphy and by me on items 4.1 and 4.2 of the City Lifestyle Committee, where we both voluntarily left the meeting, including while the matter was discussed and voted upon. Therefore, items 4.1 and 4.2 will be separated for the bulk of discussions today. Accordingly, Councillor Murphy and I will now leave the meeting, and I'd like to invite Deputy Chairperson Councillor Hall to speak to these items in our absence. Thank you.
Councillor Hall, Acting Chairperson of the City Lifestyle Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I now refer to item 4.1 and 4.2. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest to declare? If not, I'll now speak to the recommendation. At the City Lifestyle Committee last week, we welcomed the Ben Lee Sports and Community Club to provide councillors with a presentation on the 10-year arrangements and proposal for Dwarf Park. Thank you to the club for sharing insight into operations and plans for the future. Following the club's presentation, councillors continued to discuss and reached a consensus on the way forward for the club as shown in the recommendations. I'd now like to speak to those recommendations.
Proceed.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I've already spoken to the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillors, do any other councillors wish to discuss the matter? No, I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I now move that the recommendations for item 4.1 and items 4.2 of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 16th of February 2022 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. So Councillor Hall's moved the motion. We have a seconder for the motion. Councillor Bradley has seconded the motion. I now put items 4.1 and 4.2 of the Lifestyle Committee to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. And now we'll ask the councillors to come back in the room. Would any councillors like to record their name against those two items? No. Okay. Councillor Karansky, I'll hand it back to you for the remainder of the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, before we move on, Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander peoples, please be advised that this meeting and live stream will contain the name of a person who has passed away. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll now speak to the remainder of the recommendations. In other agenda items, councillors supported the naming of the Berrinba Wetlands Interpretive Centre in honour of Aboriginal elder and renowned artist Reginald Roy Knox, Uncle Reg, who passed away in 2020. Fellow councillors acknowledged the significant contribution to the community that Uncle Reg made throughout his life. We were also provided with an update on the Community Infrastructure Program for the first quarter of the financial year. It's always exciting to see and hear updates on projects underway or being completed for the community, including the recently completed outdoor precinct of the Kingston Butter Factory. The outdoor precincts includes the new Heritage Centre, stage, outdoor arena, new access, which is roads, bridges and a car park, upgraded cottage, public art and amenities. On the 4th of February, more than 3,000 people gathered at KBF for Watangi Day, and it was great to see the venue really come to life. We're looking forward to the official KBF building opening, live museum and theatre being completed very, very soon. The Community Service Team provided their quarterly report from the Community Infrastructure Program-based budget. The program-based budget, as you know, guides council in the building and operation of facilities across the city. And councillors also received an annual review report on the City Logan Safe City Strategy and Action Plan, which informs the progress and achievements made in the first year of delivery, as well as progress updates specifically for the October to December quarter. In general business, my fellow councillors expressed their appreciation for exceptional customer service provided by council officers across our region, and we do thank them for their ongoing commitment and service to our community. I'd also like to echo fellow councillors' comments to welcome our new CEO, Mr. Darren Scott, and on a personal note, I look forward to taking Mr. Scott out to Division 4 and joining me for a tour in the coming week.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank members of the community who provided feedback to the renaming of the Berrinba Wetlands Interpretive Centre. It'll be fantastic to recognise Uncle Reggie's contribution to the city and to the community, and a huge shout out to the CEO who I got to take for a tour yesterday, showed him exactly where the interpretive centre was. We discussed the nitty-gritty details of signage and how important spelling is, and then we moved on. So thank you very much to my fellow councillors for supporting it, and to the community members who gave us feedback.
Councillors, any other speakers? No? I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Karansky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I now move that the minutes of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 16th of February 2022 be confirmed, and that the recommendations of the City Lifestyle Committee held on the 16th of February 2022, with the exception of items 4.1 and 4.2, be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Kerensky. Councillor Kerensky has moved the motion. I ask for a seconder for the motion. Councillor Hall, the seconder of the motion. I now put it to the vote. I put it to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please place your hands up. That has been carried unanimously. Councillors, I now ask if any councillors wish to record their name against any of the agenda items in that report. No? Okay, we'll keep moving. Thank you. City Governance Committee, I now refer to the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 16th of February 2022. Councillor Wilcox, Chairperson of the City Governance Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest to declare on any of the items at this stage? No? There being none, I will now speak to the recommendations. Our vision for our City of Logan is a green city full of pride, opportunity and culture. And last week in the Governance Committee, we had a report on our Green Fleet Sustainable Strategy. I'm pleased to say that by adding to our green fleet, that the Logan City Council vehicles play an active role in delivering services to our community, and we are delivering change and enhancing our eco-friendly role in the community. Our sustainable fleet strategy will bring benefits to our community and the environment through cleaner air with less polluting emissions, preservation of our resources by using more renewables, and more awareness and practice of sustainability through green behaviours. And I'm sure that we are all looking forward to the efficiency savings in the future and for a cleaner fleet in the future. So, well done. Congratulations to the branch on bringing some more greener and cleaner fleet cars. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Any other councillors wish to speak? No? Back to you, Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. I will now move that the minutes of the City Governance Committee held on the 16th of February 2022 be confirmed, and that the recommendations of the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 16th, 2022 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. I now ask for a seconder on that motion. Councillor Murphy has seconded the motion. I put it to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. Do any councillors wish to record their name against any of the... Councillor Stamp.
Mr. Mayor, just against 6.1, please.
Any other councillors? No, thank you. Councillors, we now come to council reports. We have no council reports to consider, but we have a late report. So we have one late report to consider. I'll now refer to item 11.1. I invite Mr. David Hanson, the Director of Strategy and Sustainability, to join the discussion. Before we open discussion on this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest? None being so. Okay, councillors, I note that item 11.1 is confidential. It is considered necessary to take the discussion of the confidential attachments into a closed session, as the attachments contain information that is commercial in confidence. Do any councillors wish to move into closed session for this item? Okay, we have Councillor Wilcox wishes to go into closed session. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Hall is second on the motion. So I note that councillors have indicated a need to move in the meeting into a closed session as per the report or overview. I note the motion is to close the meeting is displayed on the screen. So we've had a mover and a seconder. So Councillor Hall has seconded. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried, but we have two that didn't vote. Councillor Lane, how do you vote?
Against.
Councillor Raven?
Against.
Okay, that's been recorded. So that has been moved, so we're now in confidential. So the meeting is now closed to the public. relation to this. Do any councillors wish time to read that motion? Do you want to go through it? You're reading it? Yep. Okay, I'll give you 30 seconds more to read it. Okay, councillors, you have read the motion. I will move the motion. Do I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Raven has seconded the motion. I'll put the matter for the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, do we have any petitions? No petitions. Consideration of notified motions. We have no notified motions to consider. So we'll go straight into GB. Now we'll be starting with Councillor Hiremai today. Councillor Hiremai.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today I rise in support of an important issue. In the past few months, I've become more aware of the struggles that deaf and hearing impaired people have every single day in our city. But I've also found the immense value and the many opportunities we have to improve. Everybody in our community should have equal access to government services. Regardless of who you are, it needs to be a level playing field. And our government needs to have a focus on accessibility for deaf and hearing impaired people. And that's why I'm calling for a report that launches a citywide investigation into what council is currently doing to support the deaf community and into how we can do better. Mr. Mayor, the motion is that the Director of Community Services be requested to include in the upcoming Access and Inclusion Progress Update at a future City Lifestyle Committee meeting information that details the current state, future plans and potential improvements regarding deaf and hearing impaired accessibility and Council's engagement with the community, including at Council-owned venues and in communication materials. Mr. Mayor, I'm proud to move this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hiremai. Councillor Hiremai has moved the motion. I have a seconder to the motion. Councillor Bradley has seconded the motion. I will put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Do you have any more, GB?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also rise today to speak on some remarks that have been made. Yes, I'm the youngest councillor in the history of our city and in Queensland, but I'm proud that young people are involved in politics. And let's remember, age does not determine logic. So let's correct some mistruths. The logic and the facts show that land, once considered as unusable, can be transformed into something really special. We only have to look at our region's history. Look at the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast was once considered unusable. Did they sit back, put their feet up and forget about it? No. They rolled up their sleeves, they formed a vision, and they built a metropolis that thousands of people enjoy every single day. Now, our city has a vision too, and we shouldn't underestimate our city. And my community's people are innovative, they're agile, and I'm proud to represent every single one of them. And I'm proud to represent every single one of the young people in our community too. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hiremai. Well said. Okay, Councillor Stemp. No. Councillor Wilcox?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This morning, I'd just like to say a big congratulations as well. I went to 2 events last week. I got to MC my first event for Logan City Council, and it was the bursary event, and Councillor Tony Hall was there as well, presenting with me as well. So we presented 10 bursaries across the city. All of them were females. It was amazing to see, so well done to all of you, congratulations. The bursaries were $5,000 each to each of the recipients to go towards their university studies. They were all so diverse in what they were going to study. It was quite amazing to actually MC it and to hear and to speak to those young women. A big thanks must go to the businesses that also support the bursaries. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to have given out 10 bursaries altogether. So thank you. Congratulations to everyone. well done to the team on putting it all together. It was a really lovely morning, and for those of you other councillors that attended, thank you very much. And for those that are wondering about the bursaries, if you're interested in knowing about them, go and talk to your school guidance counsellor, go and ask someone at your school about them, or log onto the website and just type in bursaries so that you can find some more information, because I don't think there's enough info out there for them. And I must also say huge congratulations to Councillor Bannon, even though he's not here, and I'm hoping he says something about this at the next ordinary council. But we attended Pink Stumps. Councillor Murphy, Councillor Hall, Councillor Russell also attended with me. It was a fantastic night. I don't know the numbers on how many people attended, and I don't know the amount, so hopefully Councillor Bannon will bring that. But I don't know about Councillor Russell, but we went and got a photo with Glenn McGrath and a few other Bulls players and that sort of thing. And by no means are either of us short women, but my God, I felt short that day. I was so tiny in comparison to all of the blokes that were there. But it was fantastic to meet them, I must say, and it was an awesome event. So well done to Jimbooma Cricket, Councillor Bannon, and for everyone for attending and supporting the event. It really is an amazing event. So get out there and support it next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Murphy, no. Okay, so we'll go back to Councillor Bradley. No. Councillor Lane?
It's general business, of course. I've got lots to say, Mr Mayor. The first thing is on the 1st of February, a tornado hit down in my community in Division 2, and it ripped the guts out of it, let's be honest. People lost their roofs were damaged, trees were pulled down, and Logan City Council mobilised in a way that was absolutely fantastic. Jim Ferguson from the SES, Margaretta Burton from Disaster Management, the whole crew got out and got active. We had Energex on the ground working to restore power. Some people were almost 2 days without power. Then when they got it back on, an hour and a half later, it went out when the second storm hit. And they thought, oh goodness, here we go again. We had Logan Water out doing water business. So thanks very much to them, Director. They actually, a lot of the sewage pumps stopped because there was no power. So that's something we've got to look at in the future. What happens to those residents who are impacted by that when the sewage backs up? As a community, we pulled together, but as a council, we led the way in that recovery mission, and it was really important, and it's still ongoing. We're still doing checks. Our arborists are going around doing checks of the trees to make sure that they're stable, that they are healthy, and that they are not going to wither and die over the coming months, because that's what happens to trees when they're impacted. QPS, QFES, everyone just pulled together. It was absolutely fantastic. So if you could please pass congratulations down through your weekly thing, Mr CEO, that would be great. The second thing is Waitangi Day. Tia Kara Aroha did a magnificent job at Kingston Butter Factory for Waitangi Day 2022. They welcomed us with a traditional greeting. There was dance, there was cultural performances, there was beautiful singing, absolutely stunning singing, and it was amazing to see hundreds of families going down and enjoying the Kingston Butter Factory. So congratulations to the events team who assisted with that. Thank you very much, Director Barton Harvey. The last thing that I would like to raise is 2 of our local schools are turning 50 this year, and they're 4114 schools, and we're super proud of them. Anything that local businesses or the council can do to get behind those schools to celebrate. They've had a pretty tough time with fundraising with COVID. They haven't been able to raise as much money as they would like, but anything we can do to assist them would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Russell, Councillor Karatsky, Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just want to correct the record for the benefit of Councillor Heremyra. I misspoke when I referred to him and myself as young. I meant first term councillors, not young councillors, because I'm by no means young by any definition of the word. And he is right. His youth has nothing to do with his capacity. I will point out, though, that the beloved Gold Coast that he referred to is thoroughly flood mapped, and that's why they can manage the risk and they can have the canal housing. So it's important that we get the details right, and that's what we're doing. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Raven, I also identify as a young person. Even though I'm actually older than you, I still identify as a young person. Councillor Wilcox, the excitement and exhilaration of meeting Mr McGrath is not lost upon males either. Mr Mayor, I'm standing here today to address the green elephant in the room, and I think my fellow councillors know what I'm talking about. It is no great secret that the grass is greener in Logan, and I am unsure why the grass, much like my facial hair, grows twice as fast as anywhere else in the world. Maybe it has something to do with the climate. Maybe it's just the fact that we are blessed to live in such a fertile place. Who knows? But unlike my beard, which has now been neatly trimmed and maintained, the grass in many parts of our city, and this is my opinion, has gotten to an unkept state. So much so that the residents themselves feel that it has now become a safety issue that needs to be raised by their local councillor. The grass in one of Division 6's dog parks was so bad that a concerned resident even went so far as to take matters into his own hands, and he cut the grass himself. Now, I'm not endorsing that type of behaviour from our residents, even though it's done, he has done a pretty awesome job of it. I'm not endorsing that. I'm not endorsing any anti-grass vigilantism in our city. In fact, if there wasn't rules against it, I'd probably go out and start cutting other people's grass as well, all night long. It would probably result in me getting in a lot of trouble, becoming involved in operational matters, which is why I don't do it. I have heard rumours that once upon a time a councillor did go out and cut the grass and got into a lot of trouble for it. He's a bit of a hero, some say, but we won't bring up that person because today we're talking about today's matters. It just goes to show, Mr Mayor, the frustration of our residents that this issue has gotten to the point that residents themselves feel that they need to cut council grass just to make it safe for the community. And that concerns me, Mr Mayor, because they shouldn't have to. Now, I'm not having a chop on council staff. I've seen council staff out there working day and night in the rain, cutting our grass. I think, Mr Mayor, that there is a bit of an issue that we need to look at and address. Mr Mayor, I'm aware of several reasons as to why the grass has become uncut, but I believe it's time that we ask for council itself. Mr Mayor, I'd like to call up Mr Brad White, if possible, the Logan City Council Parks Manager, to explain to our residents why the grass is getting so high in certain areas and what is being done to correct and to get it to manageable levels. If Mr Brad White's not available, I believe Katie Barton-Harvey, Director of Community Services, may be able to provide some information. But I think it's time that residents get heard and have it explained from council themselves why the grass is so high. Thank you.
So, just to be clear, have you put a question to the Director?
Yes, I have, Mr Mayor.
Okay. I will ask the Director if she would like to respond to that question.
Thank you, Councillor Hall, for your feedback. Certainly the wet weather has impacted the mowing rounds in a number of areas, and also COVID has impacted the teams. Some of our contractors had up to 40% of their teams, and this is local contractors, had up to 40% of their team contracting COVID at the same time. We're aware that this is a huge issue for residents. It is something that we have worked very hard to communicate to residents on social media via a number of different channels, making sure that we've got information on in our scripts, in our customer service centre as well. There's always more we can do, so we're keen to work directly with you and any of the councillors on what else you think that we need to do to make sure that we're managing expectations. You know, we've got another wet weather event happening at the moment, so how we manage expectations, how we make sure that we've got good communication, good responsiveness, and also a bias for action. Thank you.
Councillor Hall, I believe the Director's responded to your questions, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Director.
Okay, we'll keep moving on. Councillor Fraser? No? Okay, well that concludes, but I would like to point out that Councillor Bannon is not here today, and I know that he worked very hard on the Pink Stumps Day, and he raised a lot of money. I'm sure he's disappointed not to be here today to tell us all about it. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend. I was at the Magpies game, the first game of the season. I officially opened that. But I do know that Councillor Bannon is a workaholic when it comes to that Pink Stumps Day. Very passionate man about that and raises good money for that. So congratulations to Councillor Bannon. Okay, well that concludes our meeting for the day. I declare the meeting finished. What's wrong? Oh, yep, and I'd also like to, before I close up, like to acknowledge the new man at the top, at the helm, Mr. Darren Scott. I'd like to congratulate you officially for obviously being our new CEO. I wish you luck. I don't believe you need luck. I think you're a pretty capable sort of person. And you've done a good job so far, and I wish you well. So I'll now conclude the meeting at 10:55 a.m. Thank you, councillors.